Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Stefan here from AppStuff, and in today's video, we're going to be covering this topic of defer. What exactly is it? I don't think enough people use this or know what it is, and I have found it super helpful lately in my code. So let's just go ahead and jump into what the defer keyword is, guys. What does it do? So basically, it ensures that a block of code is executed no matter what. And it happens just before a function finishes execution. It also helps us manage state changes and code cleanups. So let's go ahead and jump into Xcode now and see what an example of this looks like and why exactly it's helpful. So I just have the starter Xcode project opened up here, guys. It's literally what you get right out of the box. You're going to want to go ahead and do the same. And we're going to get started by going over the basics here, like going over the syntax of the defer stuff and how to use it, and then get into an example with how it works. And then we're going to get into situations where it's going to be useful. So guys, let's go ahead and add an onAppear modifier to this. And we're just going to say print step 1. And then we're going to write some like function. So go ahead and make a function down here and say test func. And we're going to say print step 2. And then we're going to say defer here. And you guys notice that highlights with the keyword color. And we're going to open up 2 brackets. And guys, we are going to say print step 3. And then below that, we're going to say print step 4. And then we are going to go back into our onAppear block and we are going to call our test function. And then we're going to say print step 5. So guys, what we're going to want to do from there is run our code. So let me select iPhone 15. I have this simulator up here, and I'm running the code on the simulator so that we can get the print statements back in the console, guys. So let's go ahead, and you notice that we are getting some back in the console already, but it's really messy. I want us to just go ahead and run this app on the simulator so that we can actually see this working, and it's a little bit cleaner than what we see there. So you guys are going to notice we get the result 1, 2, 4, 3, 5. So let's go over what exactly happened here. So onAppear, it printed 1, and then it went into our test function. So it printed 1 and then 2, but then even though we had defer right after that, it printed 4 first and then printed 3 and then printed 5. So if we go back to like the definition of what the defer like functionality is it executes that code at the end of the function's execution. So basically, it went step 2, it saw defer, and it's like, I'm going to defer this to when the function has completed its execution. So it printed step 4, and then it deferred this guy and printed step 3, and then printed step 5. So that's just a really basic example of how the defer functionality works, guys. It literally just defers whatever you put in this block to the end of the function, and it executes no matter what. So even though this came directly after print step 2, it didn't run this code until we reached the end of our function here. So that's how it works. In the next section of this video, guys, we're going to get into an example of when you might actually want to use this and how it's going to be useful for you and how it's going to make your life easier as a programmer. So to get started with this example, guys, we are going to create a view model and we're going to add a function to it. So this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be called content view model. It's going to be an observable object. And then we're just going to have some sort of function in there that's going to mimic like saving some data. And then next up, guys, we're also going to create an enum, and we'll go over why we do this as well. But it's going to be called status, and it's basically going to communicate to us if we have a critical status or an operational status. So as we go through this function or this example, what we're going to do is do it without the defer keyword first, and then we are going to refactor the code to use the defer functionality to see how it makes it better. So basically, guys, what we're going to do is make a published property for this status, right? And it's just going to communicate like what the status is of some things that we're going to check, basically. Like basically we're going to check like network status and like hardware status. So go ahead and make 2 properties for that. Published var network status is a status equals dot operational, and published var hardware status. Or we could call it like maybe database status, right? Server status. Let's do that. dot operational. Cool. So we have like two of these statuses, right? And basically what we're going to do in this save data function is make sure that the statuses are operational before we move forward and actually save the information to the database. So let's go ahead and make two functions to help us do that. Let's make a func called check network status, and it's going to return a status. And we're going to say self.network status equals .operational. And then we're going to say return network status, right? And then we're going to make another function to check server status. It's going to return a status, and we're going to do the same thing. Self.server status equals the .operational, and we're going to return server status. Okay, so what the heck is all this for, right? So let's go ahead and now start filling in this save data function, guys. So we're going to say let network status equal check network status, and then we're going to say guard network status equals .operational, else return. And then we could just say let server status equal check server status, guard server status equals .operational, else return. And then we are going to have one more function to like save data to database, right? And we're just going to say print save to database. So this is like the mock functionality that we have now. And at the end of all this, guys, we are going to say save to database, right? So basically, we're going to make sure that the network status is operational, the server status is operational, and then we're going to execute some save to database function, right? So let's go ahead and add another published property here, guys, called is loading, and we're going to set it equal to false. And when I start the save data function, I'm going to say is loading equals true. And then when I reach the end of all this stuff, I'm going to say is loading equals false. So this code does have a problem with it, and we're going to see that happen once we add some code to our UI really quickly, guys. So basically, we're going to show a progress indicator when is loading is true, and we're going to show some sort of success message when is loading is false. So let's go down to our content view, and we're going to create a state object for our view model here. Content view model. And I'm going to delete this code in the VStack, and I'm going to say if viewModel.isLoading, I want to show a progress view, and I'm going to say else, I want to show a text that says saved data to database, right? And then we're going to add a task here, and we're going to say viewModel.saveData. It's not asynchronous or anything just yet, but we will do that in a little bit. So guys, what I want you to do now is just go ahead and run the preview, and you'll notice that everything is fine. I don't even think it's going to show the progress indicator. It's just going to say saved data to database. But what I want you to do now is in one of these like mock check functions, we're going to go ahead and change one of these guys to critical. And you'll notice that we now have an infinite progress indicator, right? And that's because of the way we wrote this code. We have to pass all of these guard checks and set is loading to false so that we can ultimately hide the progress indicator, right? So what you would have to do in this code to solve this problem is go here and say in this guard statement, is loading equals false, return. Here, is loading equals false, return. So basically every time you have a guard statement, you're going to have to say, oh, dude, guess what? Is loading's false, is loading's false, is loading's false. And that is really, really annoying, right? You can imagine if you had like 4 or 5 of these things or 4 or 5 guard statements, and you have to set is loading to false every single time, that's going to be really, really annoying, right? So this is where the defer keyword comes in to save the day. So let me just back all these changes out, guys. And we can keep those guard statements the same. And I can go here and just say defer is loading is false. And I can remove this from this code now as well. And you guys will notice that even though I have a critical status here, it still says saved info to database. And you guys would obviously want to add some sort of error handling here, right? To say like, hey, something went wrong. So we're not going to do that. The purpose of this video is to showcase the beauty of the defer functionality here. So we can see here that we didn't have to add is loading to each one of these guard statement like else blocks, right? we just added it up here. And basically what's going to happen is we set is loading to true. And we're going to say, hey, defer is loading to false. So at the end of this function, whenever it stops, no matter what, is loading is always going to be false, which is what we want. So if it passes this guard check, and then we're good to go. So it continues on to this line. So let's go ahead and maybe like add a print statement. Network status is operational. And then here we could say print server status is operational. And let's go ahead and run our app and see what happens. And guys, to make this a little fancier, you could make this an asynchronous function, and you could say, do this, right? Say try await task.sleep nanoseconds 2 million or whatever that is, 2 billion, I think that is. And basically, guys, this is going to give us a 2-second delay before we set is loading to false. So this just sort of mimics like an API process or call. And we're going to notice that we just get hello world right away. We need to say await here. I don't like how Xcode will launch the app if there's an error in the code. I feel like they need to fix that. But basically, guys, now we'll get this guy here, and it says save to database, right? So that was the purpose of that delay guy. And you'll notice that we get some print statements back. The network status is operational, but we never hit server status is operational. So let me add another print statement to the defer guy just to really show you guys the order of operations here. Print deferring. And let's add a main actor property wrapper to this class so we don't get yelled at for publishing changes to the main thread from a background thread. And you guys will notice that we get that 2-second delay. And let's check out our console. I know this is really small, guys. I apologize for that. But it does say network status is operational, and then it goes into the defer block. So what does that tell us? It hit this guard statement, and the function returned right there. So we never got here, and we never executed the save to database function. It just went right into this defer block. It said deferring, as we can see right there, and then says is loading is false. That's why we don't see the progress indicator anymore. And really just to polish this off, guys, we could go into this else block down here, and we could say if viewModel dot network status equals dot critical, or viewModel dot server status equals dot critical. Then we could say like we want a text that says an error occurred. Else we could say text saved to database. So let's just go ahead and check this out one more time. And then we'll change this back to operational just to see if everything actually goes through. So guys, we'll notice here that we see an error occurred because the viewModel server status is critical. If I change this guy back to operational, you'll notice that it'll say saved to database, and we'll get all of those print statements back. So we'll see that we get network status is operational, server status is operational, saved to database, and it deferred anyway, right? So guys, where you put the defer code is very important, right? Because you want to make sure you don't put it like all the way like down here or something, right? This basically doesn't do anything, you know? You'll see that you get a warning. Defer statement at end of scope, always execute immediately, replace with like do or whatever, right? So you want to make sure you put it in the correct place. Basically, we're going to say we want the compiler to skip this and go into this stuff. And then if any of this fails, then come back and do this. So it is important where you put that. And guys, this really just showcases the utility of the defer functionality. I hope this was an awesome tutorial for you, and I hope this helps you guys out as developers with how you can use this to make your code cleaner and make your life better. And that is going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And if you guys want to continue learning with us here at AppStuff, beyond the free content we have here on YouTube, make sure you check out the website at stephencodes.com. We have a bunch of incredible pro courses where we go over cloning all of these amazing real-world apps. You guys learn so many invaluable coding techniques in how to build these full-scale apps from scratch with SwiftUI. We also have fundamentals to help you guys get started or improve your knowledge with Swift with like stuff like this intermediate and advanced fundamentals course. So if you guys are really looking to level up your skills as an iOS developer and you want to invest in yourself, make sure you check out our pro content. And you guys can get unlimited access to all of this stuff by becoming a member for just less than a coffee a day. So once again, link is in the description for that, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.